Namaste everyone. Welcome to our fifth day of the Global Hindu Summit. Today's sub-theme is Science and Technology for Cosmic Wellness. Our moderator will be Professor S.R. Bhatt. Sir is the chairman of the Indian Philosophy Congress. Currently, he became the advisor for the Value community. Professor Dr. S.R. Bhatt, floor is for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pujya Guruji. We are having this very grand, majestic, and valuable international conference on sublime and majestic Hindu Dharma, which is in fact Sanatana Dharma. Of course, the two words are used as synonyms by us. Popular word is Hindu, but it has some geographical connotation. Whereas when we talk of Sanatana Dharma, well, the connotation is cultural. And Indian culture is pretty old, maybe perhaps the oldest, and it has continued to serve humanity for all this time, in spite of many onslaughts, but it has a surviving instinct, some sort of inherent vitality, and therefore it continues. It, of course, had a very hoary past, eventful present, but has a glorious future. It has glorious future because of some valuable insights which Sanatana Dharma has put forth, which are worth emulating, particularly in present times of stripes and suffering and calamities. And we are looking for, in fact, a paradigm shift in our value perception and virtuous mode of living. And therefore, the sublime ideas put forth by Sanatana Dharma are very much relevant and needed also in contemporary times. We, in fact, have to revisit and can say reinterpret also, in terms of modern phraseology, the ideas and ideals inherent in Sanatana Dharma. And this particular international conference is an attempt to put forth afresh those salient features and cardinal doctrines of Sanatana Dharma, which are needed in contemporary times, which may ameliorate all sorts of sufferings that we are vitiated with. And therefore, this conference being addressed by eminent seers, eminent thinkers, eminent diplomats also, and therefore we have a very wide spectrum of speakers making a valuable contribution. I call it as a Jnana Yajna. And everyone has offered their ahuti and will be offering their ahutis in this Jnana Yajna for the sake of wellness of the whole humanity and also maintenance of cosmic order. At present, we are suffering because we have disturbed the cosmic order. We have disrespected Mother Nature. We have exploited Mother Nature. And therefore, it's high time that we restore the cosmic order. Vedic seers called as Rita, and let us follow the path of Rita, which is manifested in Dharma, and Dharma stands for those sublime principles which are sustaining our life regulating our life and enhancing our life. Dharma, technically we say, is dharaka, is niyamaka, and is sadhaka. So this dharmic centricity, which is based on intuitive realization of the nature of reality. The seers who visualize the real nature of reality, we call them as mantra drashta. So it's a high time that now in the situation of calamity, we revisit the Vedic wisdom and be benefited by it, so that we can chart out a virtuous path of our conduct. So with these preliminary remarks, may I respectfully call upon Swami Bhadresh Das ji, who is the head of the Akshardham Research Foundation in New Delhi, but has also in Gujarat a training center, a very vibrant training center for inculcation of virtues in youths. And there are many such seers in making are being trained by him. The most peculiar thing and most, I should say, salient feature of the contribution of Bhadresh Swami is that he has commented on what is we call as Prasthanatrayi, the Upanishads, the Brahma Sutra, and the Bhagavad-Gita. So in our tradition, we say that one who comments on all the three is known as Acharya. Of course, now Acharya has become a very common designation, but it is a technical term. And Bhadresh Swamiji is an Acharya par excellence. So we are really privileged to have him, and we are eager to listen to him for his erudite presentation. So the floor is now for the Sadhu Bhadresh Das Maharaj.
Excuse me to interfere. Only few seconds I want that Guruji and Bhatt Sahib, we are doing very good thing. We are propagating Hinduism, but in practical, we should start one slogan, one campaign that all the pesticides should be stopped. There should be no company of pesticides. And because I am from India, who has suffered in Bhopal, I was very much there, and I have seen the precarious condition. Thank you.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Yeah, Bhadresh Swamiji now.
Om Shanno Mitrasham Varunaha Shanno Bhavatvaryama Shanna Indro Bruhaspatihi Shanno Vishnurukramaha Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayo Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahmasi Tvameva Pratyaksham Brahma Vadishyami Rutam Vadishyami Satyam Vadishyami Tanmam Tadvaktaram Avatu Mam Avatu Vaktaram. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Swami Narayana Sakshad Akshara Purushottamaha Sarvebhyah Paramam Shantim Anandam Sukhamarpayet. Om. Respected Guruji, S.R. Bhattji, respected speakers, invited guests, scholars, researchers, students, and listeners. Sarvebhyo Namo Namaha. I have been requested to present the perspective of Bhagavad-Gita. I am fortunate to have a chance to think upon, to concentrate or meditate, and to say something about the glorious scripture of Hindu Sanatana Dharma, Vedic Sanatana Dharma, the Srimad Bhagavad-Gita. The Bhagavad-Gita, an exceptional episode from history, a guideline which transcends time, a journey leading from the mundane earthbound realities to life, to the lofty peaks of ultimate ideals. The Bhagavad-Gita, a creation that uplifts a materialistic individual to the Brahmic state, one of continuous bliss, a revelation that intertwines philosophy and life, a thought process that remains relevant from individual peace to world peace. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a force that transforms despondency into happiness, a divine celebration that expels inaction and venerates rightful action, a divine doctrine that elevates menial action to the glorious heights of Karma Yoga. What can the Gita teach a country like China? What can the Gita teach a country like China? I was posed this question by a professor during the oral examination for my PhD. While introducing the Gita to the examiners, I had emphasized that the Gita transcends borders of countries and is relevant across all cultures. The question became more poignant as it was asked to a Hindu renunciate. The professor clarified his stand by saying, I do not give any importance to sectarian research. A couple of professors among the 20-odd examiners nodded their approval and praised the questioner by passing comments like, very good question, very good question. I attempt to grasp the significance of the questions as my guide looked at me with anticipation. I knew little about the Chinese civilization, culture, and mindset. However, they were awaiting my reply. I sent a silent prayer to my Guru Pramukh Swamiji and began to answer with questions. Does anyone in China ever cry? I asked the examining professor. Yes, he replied. Does anyone in China ever become confused about the true nature of his duties? Yes. Is China a country without emotion? No. Do the Chinese despise inner peace? No. Does a frustrated, discouraged person in China prefer to listen to encouraging words which rejuvenate his strength and moral? Yes. Other professors were smiling at our exchange of words. Does China seek the truth? Was my last question. Yes, replied the professor who had asked the original question to me. Then the Gita, I said, then the Gita can give a lot to a country like China, because here in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna had cried, was emotional, yearning for inner peace, confused about the true nature of his duties, seeking the truth, and desired to rejuvenate his courage. In the Gita, we observe the manner in which Bhagavan Shri Krishna uplifted Arjuna through his friendly counsel. And so it seems that the Bhagavad Gita can certainly be of some help to every human being in this world, I replied. As the professor was familiar with the Gita, he was satisfied with my answer. Friends, the Gita is a psychology, overflowing with a full panorama of human emotions. Fear is awakened and bravery is conjured. You can observe a painful heart and blissful mind. Gloom and joy playfully coexist here. There is a competition between shrinking of duties and sincere dutifulness. At times, doubt emerges to be replaced by faith immediately. Confusions arise and are resolved forever. In Bhagavad-Gita, the sweet tune of love is in harmony with the rhythm of knowledge. We find friendly coaxing along with candid freedom. We can simultaneously see sorrow and laughter, doubt and faith, logic and miracle. Really, the Gita is an ocean of human emotions. Nothing is hidden here. There is no deception. Everything is open without guile and deceit. Everything is candidly revealed. I consider the Gita to be an example of very clear, very honest, completely historical, absolutely sacred, ever exemplary, and ever perfect manifestation of psychology and Bhagwan Sri Krishna as a supreme psychologist. Yes, it is true that the Gita begins with great passion, but later it is replaced by discouragement. But ultimately, discouragement is kicked out and complete passion recaptures its original place of honor. In the beginning of the first chapter, Arjuna is full of vigor and energy. He lifts his bow named Gandiva and asks Sri Krishna, his charioteer, Senayor Rupayor Madhye Ratham Sthapaya Mechyuta. Bhagavan Sri Krishna abides by Arjuna's wish and brings his chariot between both armies, eager for battle. Then Krishna said, O Partha, see these Kauravas who have gathered here. Pashetan Samavetan Kuruniti. Arjuna started looking at them. This is the moment where the situation took a dramatic turn. An unforeseen page of history started unfolding. Suddenly, Arjuna was gripped by an unknown emotion. He became sentimental about fighting his own kith and kin. His attachment took the better of him, and he even forgot his natural heroism and started regretting the situation. He was gripped by delusion, and that delusion leads Arjuna to despondency. Forgetting his bravery, Arjuna begins to speak in despair. This is described in the Gita with following words. Paraya krupaya vishtaha vishidan idam abravit sidanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati vepatuscha sharire me roma harshascha jayate gandivam sransate hastat tvakchaiva paridahyate nacha shaknomyavasthatum Brahmati vachame manaha. Look at how this sensitive scenario is unfolding. The brave warrior who has Hanuman on his flag, who possesses the bow Gandiva gifted by Indra, who has Bhagwan Sri Krishna himself as his Sarthi. This brave warrior is now in tears. His natural personality was subdued and overpowered by emotions. Friends, today, humankind fervently progresses towards personality development. We are living in the age of presentation, performance, and perfection. The Gita offers a complete panorama of personality development. If a person does not learn how to conquer their emotions, then in spite of possessing world-class skills of presentation, performance, and perfection, they are still able to deviate from their rightful duty, and at any moment, Arjuna is the personification of how this could happen. But at the same time, Arjuna was blessed to have a guru in form of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. Though he was in the guise of Sarathi, he was the ultimate successor of Arjuna. Arjuna knew that he is divinity in human form. This divine Bhagavan Sri Krishna instilled energy, power, and complete patience into Arjuna. The second chapter begins with a description of Arjuna as seen by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. He says, Tam tatha kripaya vishtam ashru purna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudana. Consider these words to be a photograph of Partha, of Arjuna, clicked by Bhagavan Sri Krishna. This reflects the depth of Bhagavan Sri Krishna's perception. From a philosophical point of view, this perception of Bhagavan Sri Krishna is unique. Here, Arjuna is crying. He is in dejection and delusion, a reflection of Arjuna's three bodies. Indian darshanik traditions perceive the soul as being bound by three bodies. These bodies are namely Sthula, Sukshma, Karana, the gross body, the subtle body, and the causal body. Arjuna's tearful eyes represent his gross body. His dejected mind represents his subtle body, and his delusion is the causal body. A complete doctor possesses a special quality. He can vividly see the present sorrowful status and also the future joyful status of the patient. In the 18th chapter of the Gita, Arjuna's future state as foreseen by Sri Krishna is described Brahma Bhutaha, Prasannatma, Na Shochati, Na Kankshati. One who has attained the Brahma Bhava is eternally happy. The entire discourse of Gita is focused towards uplifting Arjuna to this Brahmic state, union with Brahman. Once Arjuna is firmly established in this state, constant peace will be experienced and sorrow will naturally be dispelled. Equanimity, sthita pragnata, instability of mind or in thoughts or decisions is become a global disease of humankind now. I am unable to concentrate. I am always in two minds. I cannot tolerate even common discomforts. I have become oversensitive. I am scared. In spite of trying honestly, I am unable to give up my bad habits. I cannot prevent my senses from doing something harmful. I am unable to build good relationships with other people. I always have a feeling of emptiness and lack of peace. All those who have one or more of above complaints about life must read the portion from the Gita which deals with the state of equanimity. Equanimity is the ultimate definition of humanity. It is a characteristic of yoga. The Gita considers equanimity as the ideal state and describes it in great deal at the end of the second chapter. Bhagavan Sri Krishna describes the various aspects of equanimity at the end of chapter 2 and concludes by saying, Esha Brahmi Sthitihi Partha Nainam Prapya Vimuhyati. Friends, I was first introduced to the Gita by my revered Guru, His Holiness Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Very often, his discourses contained the deep wisdom of the Gita. Pramukh Swamiji strongly emphasized two words of the Gita, Akshara and Purushottama. The 8th chapter contains preachings regarding the word Akshara and is named Akshara Brahma Yoga. The 15th chapter contains preachings regarding the word Purushottama and is named Purushottama Yoga. When I was in the process of writing my research paper on yoga in Gita, Pramukh Swamiji personally explained to me that these two words, Akshara and Purushottama, constitute the essence of entire Gita. I was surprised, as I had not come across this principle in either of the traditional commentaries written by the acharyas or of ancient sects or the interpretation of modern thinkers. However, when I thoroughly researched the Gita through this perspective, I became convinced that without the understanding of these two, Akshara and Purushottama, it would be impossible to define Dharma, Sthita Pragnata, Yoga, and spiritual practices such as Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. I must say, it is as though the Gita is guiding us into a new direction of philosophy, which can be called the Akshara Purushottama Darshana. The turning point in Bhagavad-Gita. I am your disciple. The sentence of Arjuna. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. O Krishna, I am your disciple. What a profound and meaningful statement. This heartfelt sentiment is the turning point of Arjuna. Here, the principle of discipleship is clearly established. Discipleship is a fundamental principle for seekers of wisdom. Discipleship is the gateway of progress. Discipleship is the source of power, courage, and enthusiasm. Discipleship is not a reflection of ignorance or helplessness, but rather of enlightenment and energy. A proud person fears accepting discipleship. As a result, doubt, ignorance, helplessness, and unhappiness take place. A true seeker of wisdom has a natural tendency of discipleship. Arjuna is a true seeker of wisdom. He dedicated himself to Sri Krishna and accepted him as his guru. It is at this point in the Gita that the unique, genuine, affectionate, profound, and matured Guru-Shishya relationship flourishes. The Guru-Shishya relationship is a distinctive maker of Hindu Sanatana Dharma. The glory of the Guru-Shishya relationship is profoundly realized in our Vedas, Upanishads, Puranas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. The world has received priceless philosophical principles which have been born from dialogues between guru and disciple. In conclusion, I would like to mention two sentences from Bhagavad Gita. Number one, Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. Number two, Name Bhaktaha Pranashyati. It means for us, Krishna never departs, nor does Arjuna. Hence, the Gita too is ever present. As long as there is an emotional Arjuna, there will be a Krishna to empower him. As long as there is a grief-stricken, deluded Arjuna, there will be a Krishna to bring joy and provide clarity. As long as there is an Arjuna fallen from his rightful path, there will be a Krishna to inspire rightful action. Arjuna lives today. We all are Arjunas. The Gita clearly points to the present day Krishna, Tadvidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya upadekshanti, upadekshanti, bhavishyakal, upadekshanti, te gnanam gnaninas tattvadarshina. O Arjuna, know that truth from a wise guru through pranipat, submissive inquiries, and service. The wise who perceive the truth will impart his wisdom to you. The word upadekshanti signifies future tense. This future tense links the Gita with the present age. These words of Krishna are a divine blessings for every Arjuna, reassuring the eternity of the Sanatana Dharma. Hence, the Gita is ever present. It was a living, inspiring philosophy, psychology, a way of life in the past, continues today, and will forever remain so in future. I thank the organizers, and especially S.R. Bhattji, for organizing such a needful conference and give me an opportunity to say something about our Bhavya, Divya, Sanatan Hindu Dharma. Again, I thank you all for your attention, patience, and time. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
And straightforward exposition of the basic tenets of Bhagavad-Gita. We are really grateful to you for your auspicious presence and a nice presentation. Sri Ram Madhavji is now on the scene. So I welcome Sri Ram Madhavji and invite him to this program. Is he seen? I'm
Yeah,
told
I'm
he
here,
is
but some.
here, no? Yeah. No, but you are not visible.
He,
Huh? Ram Madhavji is not visible. Huh?
he's here.
Yeah. Now he's. We are really very fortunate to have Sri Ram Madhavji amongst us to enlighten us about the glorious global Hindu Dharma, which is Sanatana Dharma, which is ecumenical in nature, and in real sense, it is global. In fact, Sanatana Dharma is not just for any particular class or particular creed or particular community. It is for the whole humanity. And the message enshrined in the Vedas, for example, which are the springboard of Sanatana Dharma, they are for the whole humanity and entire cosmos. According to Vedic rishis, this cosmos is an orderly arrangement. It's a network of complex entities which are all in a symbiotic form present for us. So this Sanatana Dharma, in fact, has a message for the whole humanity for upliftment. Well, it says that, of course, we are finite, but inherently we are infinite. And we have to realize our infinitude within us by our selfless enterprises. So Bhagavad-Gita is, for example, a best, you can say, classic to sum up the essence of Vedic wisdom. Bhagavad-Gita is not a sectarian classic. It is for the whole humanity. And this is what Sadhu Bhadresh Dasji also has pointed out. So, and therefore, we would like to listen to Sri Ram Madhavji. Ram Madhavji is a diplomat. He is a politician, but at the same time, he is a profound thinker and a prolific writer of a very high quality deliberation. And he's an extremely busy person, but he could spare some of his valuable time, and therefore we are really grateful to him. And I request him to make his presentation. Of course, the sub-theme for today is science and technology, as to how we can make science and spiritual technology spiritualize science, so that science results in universal wellness rather than having any harmful effects on the cosmos. But you can speak on fundamentals of Hindu Dharma. Very recently, Sri Ram Madhavji has authored a very voluminous book, Hindutva Paradigm, and it has become a bestseller in now. So there he has pointed out that Hindutva is the very essence of Hindu Dharma, and it stands for all that is noble, all that is virtual, all that is beneficial, all that leads to bliss and happiness. So now floor is to Sri Ram Madhavji.
Thank you, Professor Bhatt Sahab, for inviting me to this conference of the scholars. Although you described me also as a scholar, etc., I am just a public activist. I don't claim any scholarship, but as someone who has followed one particular ideological school of thought for many decades, I would like to give some of my views on the Sanatana Dharma, on which this 5-day conference is focused. One narrative about Sanatana Dharma that I liked very much comes from Rishi Aurobindo. Rishi Aurobindo, in his own words, I quote, "Hinduism gave itself no name because it set itself no sectarian limits. It claimed no universal adhesion, asserted no sole infallible dogma, set up no single narrow path or gate of salvation. It was less a creed or cult than a continuously enlarging tradition of the Godward endeavor of the human spirit, an immense, many-sided and many-staged provision for a spiritual self-building and self-finding. It had some right to speak of itself by the only name it knew, the eternal religion, Sanatana Dharma." I find this definition of Sri Aurobindo equating Hinduism with Sanatana Dharma and giving that eternal identity to it as the most relevant, most befitting definition of Sanatana Dharma. Our Dharma, it doesn't prescribe any particular way of worship as Aurobindo talks about it, nor does it prescribe any one single God. In the concept of religion, the word God is understood differently, especially by the Westerners. For them, there is one God. They understand God and religion from the relationship between that God and his followers. When they look at us, the followers of Sanatana Dharma, seeing many Godheads here, they tend to call it sometimes polytheistic religion. So for them, their religion is monotheistic, and the Sanatana Dharma, the Hindu religion, is polytheistic. It is as though a conflict between one God and many gods. But what Sanatana Dharma stands for is neither many gods, that is monotheism, nor one God as understood by the Semites or the Westerners, namely the monotheism. what Sanatana Dharma is, or can be called, is omnitheism, meaning it sees divinity all over and everywhere. Hence, to put it simply, it's not about one God versus many gods. Rather, it's about one God versus only God. Whatever exists is divine, is how we look at the concept of divinity. There was a very interesting court case in 1990s. It was an election petition filed against a Shiva Sena leader from Bombay called Mr. Manohar Joshi. The opposition had alleged that Mr. Joshi used words like Hindutva. Thus, it tantamounted to using religion in politics. A landmark judgment was delivered in 1995, I think, towards the end of 1995, by a 5-judge bench of the Supreme Court. That judgment had, of course, said that Hindutva or Hinduism, these words cannot be equated with any particular religion. Saying that, Justice Verma makes a very important observation. He says that while religion is a way of worship, Hinduism, Hindutva, Sanatana Dharma, these are all not a way of worship, but a view of worship, a way of life. It was concluded that since it was a way of life, not a way of worship, it doesn't come under the definition of religion. Now, I raise a point here that which religion is not a way of life? Is Islam not a way of life? Is Christianity not a way of life? Doesn't define every aspect of our lives, of the lives of the followers? I would rather say that instead of making this distinction between way of worship versus way of life, because even for us, there is not much difference between the two. Sanatana Dharma, as Aurobindo also rightly prescribes, it's not a creed, not a dogma, meaning it doesn't prescribe any specific way of life to you, much less a way of worship. It is a view of life. It is a worldview, ever-evolving worldview. It's a value system. It is not even a moral code. Religions that have developed ways of worship and ways of life have come up with certain moral codes. I'm not saying morality is bad, but we have not looked at human evolution, human development only from the prism of morals. If it's only about morals, how do we describe the entire Mahabharata war? Purely on moral questions. Or for Bhagavan Ram using, hiding behind a tree and killing Vali, purely from a moralistic point of view, it can be interpreted as immoral. Many such instances come in our ancient literature, because the issue was more about values, to uphold certain value system. In order to uphold the Sanatana Dharma, certain Yuga Dharma was accepted. Kunti had experimented with her boon, experimented with her sexuality even before getting married. We didn't call her a fallen woman, because here discourse was much wider. So Sanatana Dharma as a value system, a worldview, a view of life is how we should look at it. That Sanatana Dharma, which is a view of life, since it is a view of life, it should have two components. One is certain aspects which are eternal, but since it is a view of life, when society changes, times change, certain aspect of it should also be changing. So it is at one level, it should be eternal, but at another level, it should be ever changing. In fact, very interestingly, Sanatana Dharma allows for both the components to exist together. Unlike many other religions where it is believed that the final word was spoken and final message was given some 1400 years ago, 2000 years ago, all you have to do is just to follow it. In Sanatana Dharma, certain values have been spoken, but the social order can keep changing. Ever-changing social order based on unchanging eternal values. That is what Sanatana Dharma is all about. One question that naturally arises is, who will decide in a changing world order what is right and what is not right? If we admit that values, their manifestation, their application changes with changing times, who is authorized to validate that change? In our Sanatana Dharma system, we have the institution of gurus, the masters, not the teachers, not the prophets. Prophet stands at the end of the road and shows the road to the disciples so that they can reach him. For a master, the road begins from him. He shows the road to his disciples so that they can tread that path. We, the people of Sanatana Dharma, are led not by teachers, but by masters. Not by prophets, but by masters. These masters are the ones who have the authority to interpret that eternal value system to the changing times. If Muhammad Iqbal found it fascinating and puzzling that यूनान मिश्र रोम सब मिट गया जहां पे कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी. For him, it was so puzzling, so fascinating that while Yunnan had disappeared, Mishra has disappeared, Rome, Egypt, those ancient civilizations had disappeared. This particular civilization of ours, it continues to live, continues to grow. The secret is the institution of gurus. One very scientific vyavastha by which the eternal value system, which again, you should look at Rishi Aurobindo's interpretation, that value system, which is not dogmatic, which is not a creed, that to be interpreted to changing times, handing it down from generation to generation. For that, a very scientific institution of masters, the gurus, has been created in our system. That brings us to certain contemporary issues about Sanatana Dharma. Where do we stand on certain contemporary questions? Do we go back to 5,000 years and look at answers in that 5,000-year-old history? For some religions, it is 2,000-year-old. For some, it is 1,500-year-old. For some, 400-year-old. For us, fortunately, we don't have to look back. We have all those answers offered to us by our masters today. If it is a view of life, how does it look at different questions that stare at the humanity? For example, on the question of understanding the creation itself. Why is this creation? what is the way we should look at it? We said, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. The entire creation is pervaded by Brahman, the divine. The Semitics are the Western religions attributed divinity to only three things: God, His Son, and the Holy Ghost. But we said everything is divine. Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Whatever is there is only the manifestation of divinity. The second question is, when there is so much diversity, ethnic diversity, racial diversity, linguistic diversity, so many other diversities, world is full of diversities. Then how do you look at that diversity in the creation? We are the only courageous people to stand up and say, look at it as one family. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Now, this bold statement, I'm calling it a bold statement for one very important reason. For Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it doesn't matter which religion you follow. It doesn't want to obliterate anything. It says, you are what you are. You eat what you eat. You practice what you practice. Yet we can be one family. No other philosophy in the world has come up with this kind of very broad and very profound idea of universal brotherhood. There was concept of brotherhood, but brotherhood of the believers. Those who are not believers, they have to be either kafirs or heathens, condemned to hell or death. But we are very open on that. We said, no, we are all one family. Diversity is a part of the creation. On the economic question, which confronts the whole world today, we talked about Tena Tyaktena Bhunjitaha in Isavasya Upanishad, the very first shloka. Isavasyamidam sarvam. Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita. We should take whatever is left for us, not whatever we earn. So that is why we not only talked about sustainable development, we also talk about sustainable consumption. Today, there is a lot of talk in the West about sustainable development. But sustainable development is only possible when we believe in this principle of Tena Tyaktena Bhunjita. I will only take that much which has been left for me. Sustainable consumption is critical to sustainable development today. The entire, question of climate sustenance, climate management is based on human behavior, which is most importantly about sustainable consumption, not unrestrained consumption. On the welfare question, we said, while the Westerners believed that maximum benefit to maximum number, we said, no, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha. Now, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha is not a, in my understanding, it is not about Paraloka, afterlife. It's very much about this life. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha, Sarve Santi Niramaya. Nobody should have any diseases. Everybody should enjoy good things in life. Nobody should have sorrows in life. It's about this life. But whereas the Westerners thought that if we can get happiness to maximum number of people, that is enough, that should be the goal. We said not maximum, but happiness to all. Sarvepi. The operational part of this prayer is Sarvepi. Everybody should be happy. In order for everybody to be happy, somebody has to sacrifice something. So we believed on welfare question that happiness is the fundamental right of every human being. So he should get it. Happiness to all is our proposition. On the question that is burning the humanity today, that is actually the central discourse today about environment. We attached reverence to nature. Two things we did. One, we attached reverence. We attached femininity to nature. Where even in Semitic philosophies, God is supposed to be formless. You cannot even paint a picture of God. It will be blasphemous. But for them, God is always He. If it is formless, how can it be He? Because the whole thinking was masculine. We attributed motherhood, Mata Prithvihi Putroham Prithivyaha. You have it in Prithvi Suktam in Atharva Veda. We attributed motherhood to nature, reverence, divinity, and femininity to nature, except one river. All rivers are for us feminine rivers, except that Brahmaputra. All other rivers are Ganga Mata, Godavari Mata. Our plants are Matas, Gai Mata. So we have divinity attached to nature, where Semitic religions talked about exploiting nature, we talked about milking nature. And on the question of religious diversity, we never said that the whole world should have only one religion. We said, Ekam Sat Vipraha Bahuda Vadanti. I don't have to explain or talk at length about this Rigvedic Sutra. We all are very, very familiar with it. Even on the question of tolerance, we have actually gone much ahead of tolerance in our Sanatana thinking. Swami Vivekananda was there at the World Parliament of Religions. That World Parliament in 1893 was all about tolerance, because the Christian leadership had realized that there were people following other faiths. So what to do with them? So the debate about tolerance, we should tolerate them, was central to the discourse. Here was Swami Vivekananda, who stands up and proclaims that I come from a land where we don't even just limit ourselves to tolerating, because tolerance has an element of arrogance. I'm great, but I tolerate you. You are inferior, yet I tolerate you. Vivekananda had said, no, we don't think on those lines about this religious diversity. It's not about tolerance. It is about acceptance. It is about validation. It's about celebration. This religious diversity needs to be celebrated. 33 million gods, add a couple of them. No overrush in our train. We look at religious diversity not just from the point of tolerance, but the point, but a view of complete validation, complete respect, and complete accommodation and celebration. Sanatana Dharma is to be understood based on many such very fundamental precepts. I just mentioned a few of them, but all the present day's challenges, for them to be, for us to first find certain philosophical answers before we build models. Any model to be built requires certain philosophical foundations. Until now, the philosophical foundations came from the European thought, right from democracy to socialism, to capitalism, to secularism, which talks about religious relations between religions. All these concepts originated from European ideas and ideologies. Sanatana Dharma can have a different take on all these contemporary challenges. It can set the philosophical outlook, philosophical worldview right at the beginning, so that we will be able to build better institutions, better models for better life of the humanity and mankind. I end there. Thank you and namaskar.
Thank you very much, Sri Ram Madhavji, for your very erudite, scholarly, and thoughtful presentation. You have rightly pointed out that we do not believe in Sanatana Dharma either in one God or many God, but for us every iota of the cosmos is a God. And therefore it is omnitheism that Sanatana Dharma advocates. Isavashyamidam sarvam. Everything is divine. But of course, we are potentially divine, and we have to actualize our potentiality through our purusharthas, through our judicious enterprises. And therefore, we do not believe in limiting divinity to any one particular individual. You have also referred to view of Sanatana Dharma is a view of life, of course, but it's a view of life based on view of reality. Always we have emphasized this intuitive apprehension of the real nature of reality. Nahi jnanen sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate. Ours is a knowledge-centric tradition, not belief-centric tradition. And therefore, it is the we have bodhi chitta, and therefore we can have bodhi charya. It is chitta which precedes charya in our tradition. And therefore, of course, we are not merely theoretical. We do have practical orientation, but our practice is based on sound theoretical foundation, which you conclusively call philosophical foundation. Well, our philosophical foundation is holistic. It is not dualistic. It is not bifurcatory. It doesn't talk of binaries. Ours is a holistic, but the multiplicity is integrated in the bosom of the unity. So it is a unity which is manifesting itself in multiple forms. We believe in multiplicity of forms, but we say essence is the same. We say bahurupata, but we have also talked of ekatmata. Well, this is the peculiarity of Sanatana Dharma. Well, it's a symbiosis of the multiplicity embedded in unity. Well, you have also referred to the role of a guru. It is a guru. Guru means one who removes the darkness in the society. That means the guru is one who spreads enlightenment. A guru is not self-confined in terms of acquisition of knowledge. A guru is one who disseminates knowledge. Lord Buddha says, Charat bhikkhave charikam bahujana hitaya bahujana sikhaya. Well, you have to move around. A sant, a saint is not just an ascetic, but he has to engage in social wellness, in spreading knowledge and spreading virtuosity. And therefore, role of Guru and Guru Parampara. We talk of Guru Parampara, and we put Guru on a high pedestal simply because Guru is himself or herself a virtuous person, and spreads virtuosity in the society, and works for the wellness of the entire cosmos. We say Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, you rightly pointed out. So we don't talk of my happiness or my neighbor's happiness. We don't say love thy neighbor. We say love the whole humanity and the entire cosmos. So this is a sort of, we can say, a view which is really holistic and inclusive. I call it as inclusive pluralism. And also you have referred to Swami Vivekananda about this multiplicity. Well, we don't just tolerate the multiplicity, we accept the multiplicity. Multiplicity provides richness to our value schema, and therefore this has to be accepted by all, and this acceptance means feeling of oneness, Sarvatma Bhava. Well, this is the acceptance that we have in our tradition. And the point, therefore, you have rightly pointed out that in Sanatana Dharma, we don't exclude anything. We include and accommodate everything, give them proper place in the total scheme of the cosmos. And we are therefore really grateful to you for your very nice presentation, enlightening one. And you have really put forth before us the very essence of Sanatana Dharma, which is ecumenical, which is universalistic, and we are really grateful to you. I think we have the senator from America, USA, with us. Yeah, so we welcome the senator, and
I want to make a comment because the purpose of this summit itself, 10 years back, Swami Bhuvaji Maharaj, who spent time with the Swami Vivekananda, he asked me to put this event, and it took 10 years to build up. And our senator is one of the person support all the Indian community in New York City. A long time I know him as a councilman, the controller of the city, and the senator. I'm happy Ramdev Madhavji joined here, and he gave a wide vision of the Hindu Sanatana Dharma. We need to propagate this. This is very important. The Hinduism is not against any religion or a culture. It is to bring people together. I want to read little bio about our senator. New York State Senator Honorable John Sillu is a New York State Senator representing 11th Senate District, a broad area of Northeast Queens. He is the chairperson of the Senate's Committee on New York City Education and also serves on the committees of Budget, Revenue, Education, Finance, Higher Education, Rules, and Transportation. John was controller for the New York City of New York, and New York City Council member. In 2013, John was a candidate for mayor of New York City in lieu of running for re-election as a controller. Currently, John teaches municipal finance and public policy in master's programs at the University of New York and Columbia University. I want to mention something. He saved $5 billion in New York City. He put effort to check every single department and save public money. And he is a people's person in New York City and the state. One of my favorite senator, Honorable New York State Senator John Liu, floor is for you.
Thank you, Dileepji, for that very kind introduction. And I am very honored to be invited to this important event of the Global Yoga Foundation. This is something that that is very much needed in this time and age. I do want to say thank you to Professor Bhatt for the acknowledgement as well. Obviously, the world has changed in the last couple of years. We're still emerging from this very long, dark COVID tunnel. We have some signs for optimism that people are getting vaccinated here in the United States and in India and across the world. And I encourage everybody to continue to push for the vaccination so that we can, as a human race, beat back this invisible enemy that has confronted us for such a long time. But at the same time, it's also taught us new tools, such as being able to conduct these meetings and conferences virtually, having everybody get on the same meeting, even if we're 20,000 miles apart, halfway around the world. I think it definitely does bring us together in many different ways. And to have this kind of event taking place, I think it means a lot. The World Yoga Community is an important NGO in the grand scheme of the United Nations, and it is an organization that we have a strong presence, especially with the leadership of Dileepji right here in New York. So I'm always happy to see him in person, although it has been a long time since really I saw many people in person. But it's certainly good to see him and all the other leaders here in the Zoom. I'm here. I cannot claim to be an expert in yoga. I'm certainly not an expert in the Sanatana Dharma, but I'm always looking to learn more and to maybe one day achieve just a little bit of Vedic wisdom, because we can all use that whatever country we're in or whatever background we're from. And I think that also learning more about that helps me be more effective as a public servant and a legislator. So congratulations to all of you for this important convention. And I look forward to hearing many more things and great progress from Dileepji and all of you. Thank you.
I'm glad you joined. It is a great blessing for our entire Hindu community and the yoga community. And this is a 5th day of 7 days. We had over 60 speakers. We have 2 more days to go. And we had over 2,000 viewers from different countries. Around 40 country members participated in this event. So overall, very successful event. Those who are, okay. And our purpose is, we want to say, we are not doing anything wrong to other religion. We want to make sure the teachings of Vedic knowledge is so pure, is applicable for everybody around the globe. You see the International Day of Yoga, that was one of my projects. And the Prime Minister of India implemented through the UN. Now everybody can practice around the globe. I know you met some of the events in the past. You always at the Hindu temple of North America, you support our community very well. So in June, we have our whole month of yoga programs in New York State. I want you to be part of this event and support our group. And we bring all the different yoga schools together, religious group, non-religious group, artists, musicians, come together. We celebrate our existence. So I know you are a people's person. I was reading one of your bio. You always go to the right point. Our purpose of life to serve the community. You are the best example for our New York State. And we need more leaders like you. So then it will change here. Thank you, Honorable John Liu. That was great support.
We also offer our gratitude to Professor John Liu. I appreciate your inquisitiveness to learn about Vedic wisdom. Vedic wisdom is not just to be acquired, but is to be realized. It is to be put to practice. Well, it stands for a value schema which is universal, which is ecumenical, and something which is enhancing our existence, making it more and more perfect. It's a journey towards perfection. And therefore, it is something to be put to practice, to be lived, not just to be taught or deliberated. Of course, we do deliberate, but this deliberate is only a means to know the essence of the Vedic wisdom. So we are really grateful to you for your gracious presence. It has really made us more, I would say, I would call it as something which is glorious. So you have blessed us with your gracious presence and made this summit glorious. Thank you very much.
And in near future, you are welcome to India.
Yeah.
I look forward to returning to India sometime soon. I thank you for including me. I would not be so bold to say that I blessed your event. I think your event was much blessed already without my presence, but I am always looking forward to not achieving, but I guess acquiring a little bit more Vedic wisdom. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you very much. Now, do we have Bhakti Vigyan Muni Ji Maharaj? If he is around, or Bhakti Nishkam Muni Ji?
Yes, I am there. I'm there.
Yeah. So we have now His Holiness Bhakti Nishkam Shanta. He is an ardent exponent of ISKCON movement with the scientific foundation. Basically, he is a scientist and a technocrat, but has become a sannyasi. His PhD from IIT Kharagpur. And I think it was a chemical engineering or some such subject.
Ocean engineering.
Yeah.
Ocean engineering.
And he is spearheading this movement that consciousness is the ultimate reality. And matter is only an epiphenomenon. In the West, the hypothesis that it is the matter which evolves into consciousness. But his point is that, and this is the fundamental position of Sanatana Dharma, that it is everything is Sat, Chit, and Ananda, and therefore he is eagle. He has been organizing many conferences in different parts of the country and abroad also, and highlighting this Krishna consciousness. So consciousness is the ultimate reality, which is blissful in nature. So floor is open to now Bhakti Nishkam Shantaji.
Thank you, Professor S.R. Bhatt, for introducing this insignificant self. I would like to offer prayers to my spiritual masters. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. So I'm very much blessed to become a part of this August gathering, and all the people who are interested to, what you can say, realize and spread the essence of the Hindu Dharma. Actually, we call it also Sanatana Dharma. And Sanatana means which has neither beginning nor end. Actually, the Dharma means, people have some different understanding of that word, but actually Dharma means the nature, actually. What is the Dharma of water? The Dharma of the water is to flow from higher to lower potential. And then the nature of the Dharma of fire is to burn. So our Sanatana Dharma is teaching what is the Dharma of the self or the soul. What is the nature of it? So its nature, we all as a living entity must have felt that we want to live. We don't want to die. That means Sat. Eternity is our nature. That is our Dharma. Sat. And all living entities, they have inherently knowing ability. It is not found in dead objects. They are knowing things. Even bacteria, the small bacteria in the biological studies, we have seen that it learns from the experience. There is quorum sensing. They make a group decisions. All these things we will find in unicellular organisms. So knowing the Chit and the consciousness, Sat and Chit, they are the two qualities. And then all living entities, they want to become happy. The such whatever they are doing, this conference or politics or education, everybody is seeking some fulfillment, some happiness. That's what they are doing there. So Sat, Chit, Ananda is the nature or the Dharma of the living entity. So real religion must teach how to establish us or the living entities in that constitutional position, Sat, Chit, Ananda. That is the purpose of religion or Dharma. So when we are missing that focus and we are going into many other directions, then the shadow of that is manifesting. as different, what you can say, concepts are found all over the world. And that is also there in our Vedic traditions. Actually, it has been explained that when a teacher teaches the students, all students, they don't accept it the way the teacher is, meant it. The teacher meant whatever the teacher meant while speaking those things. Students don't accept that thing exactly that way. That's where they have different concepts. So when Lord given this Vedic knowledge to Brahma, he accepted it little different than what Krishna meant. And then when he given it to his students, they have accepted it little different than what Brahma meant. In this way, the jungle of religion has been manifested. In the midst of this jungle of religion, we should not forget the essence of what is the purpose of this religion, to help us establish in our constitutional position as Satchit Ananda. And how it can be attained? That's Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came 536 years back around that time in Navadip. And when Sanatana Goswami, one of his disciples, asked Kayami, what's my identity? And he told, Jivero Swarupa Krishnero Nityadas, Krishnero Tadasta Sakti Veda Veda Pradas. The nature of the Jiva soul is that it is eternal servant of Krishna. And what you can say, simultaneously one and different. It is part of, we are all part of Supreme. At the same time, we are not the whole. We are only participant in that. Nose is part of the body, but it's not the entire body. We can say it is part of the body, but it's not the entire body. So in this way, we are simultaneously same and different. That organic, holistic concept that Mahaprabhu explained. So from our institute point of view, we belong to Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute. And Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Math we have also. So this represent how to propagate the Vedic teaching scientifically to the educated class of people. So in science, it is being told that everything came from inanimate stuff, matter, by some chance accidents, some random combinations. All these things. Accidents is the source of origin, Big Bang. And they were all worried how, what you can say, these all, what you can say, things that we see around, the planets, the stars, all these things, they are very far. But what we are seeing is the only attractive force in this nature. This is gravity, which attracts. If everything is attracting everything else, then they must collapse. They should all come to one place. But why they are so much scattered? That's why they came up, initially, that Einstein's idea of the static universe concept, that there is a force which is opposite to gravity that he proposed. And then, he wanted to have, that idea that, something like a force, like your hairs are coming down by gravity, and there is an upward force which will push your hairs up, you will stand. So something like that he proposed. But, later on, Hubble's, experimental data and others, they disproved that type of idea. Then all scientists, they come together and they found out, how to explain the scattered, reality that we find. They are all so far. Then they come up with this idea of Big Bang. There was the initial explosion, and that force make it scattered. So that idea being propagated. And later on, when the question arises, okay, there may be all inanimate stuff, and how life came, then there is evidence idea being proposed by Charles Darwin, that there is a warm little pond and all the initial ingredients were there, and somehow those things all come together by some random combinations, and life first time started, and some mutation happened. Some kind of accidents happen, and there is some important material which decides the form, and later on the idea of DNA came in, and all this mutation concept of evolution is being proposed. But as the scientific research in biology progressed, what they have observed is that this concept is entirely wrong, actually, especially cell biology. Cell biology has explained that the cellular processes it fight against any random, what you can say, accidents. There is a proofreading mechanism is there in the cell, error correction and proofreading. That means cell very actively checks during the replication of DNA. If there is some error, the process stops and removes the unwanted, part which is coming from error. And again, the new part is being formed so that it makes sure it is exactly the way it is. So the accuracy is such high, there is possibility of 1 error 10 to the power 9 pieces. There is almost no error. That means organisms, they actively fight to maintain their identity, actually. That's what biology found out. And that's been also established by the stasis, means non-changing aspect in the fossil data. All these things, evidences are now scientists are reporting, like James Shapiro, one of the big biologists, and he has reported all this idea in his book, Evolution, a View from 21st Century. You all can look for this book, Evolution, a View from 21st Century. And he has very nicely summarized from the cellular biology research in last many decades, how it establishes even a single cell, it is sentient entity. All cellular processes, they're not just random chemical reactions. There is active control mechanisms are there in every aspect of cellular functions. And he also explains omnicellular, acellular. Every cell comes from pre-existing cell. Cell does not come from some random accumulation of chemicals. And also in his book, he has very nicely elaborated how this concept of Darwinian idea of gradual evolution is not correct. Because what they have found that there is a rapid change in DNA by cellular mechanisms. Transductions and so many other phenomena that he has reported in that. And yet, that does not lead to any significant change at the species level of one organism to another organism. They have tested, even in bacterium, many generations, it can quickly generate, offsprings. So many generations they tested, and bacteria remained a bacteria. Bacteria never changed into something else. So this wrong idea, which is being propagated on the name of, biogenesis and, Darwinian concept of evolution, that gives a very bad consciousness teaching to this world, actually. It tells us that we are just atoms and molecules, we have no purpose. We are at the mercy of, blind forces. But when you tell about life, it inherently has its own purpose. Long back, Immanuel Kant, great philosopher, he told, there will never be a Newton for a blade of grass. Means Newtonian mechanics can never explain the concept of blade of grass. It can break the blade of grass into atoms and molecules, but it cannot produce a blade of grass from those atoms and molecules. We have the equation of photosynthesis, but photosynthesis equation we cannot use in the laboratory to produce a blade of grass. Blade of grass comes from life. That means every cell comes from the pre-existing cell. And this is our Vedic concept. Whole comes from the whole. Om Purnamida Purnamidam, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Avishishate. The whole comes from the whole. That concept, that life comes from life, a cell comes from cell, monkey comes from monkey, man comes from man. This idea, this modern science somehow missed and given us a wrong idea without any evidence and proof. They have not produced a single cell in the laboratory using all the advanced technology. They cannot produce a single living cell in the laboratory. Always cell comes from pre-existing cell. Monkey comes from monkey. Human comes from human being. So Vedic concept says that human come from Manu, and all life forms, they come from, if you go father and father and father like that, this Brahma is the creator, and then Brahma came from Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and Garbhodaksha Vishnu came from Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu came from Chaturbhuja, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, Vasudeva, and they came from Balaram, Mula Sankarshan, and Balaram came from Krishna. That's why Brahma Samhita explains, Ishwara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karana, the cause of all causes. And that supreme.
You may kindly conclude now, huh?
Yes, I will conclude in just a few minutes. That all these forms, they are, Krishna is there in the primordial, what you can say, aspect. He has Meena Avatar, he has Varaha Avatar. So Krishna has all these forms. So all forms, they generated from Krishna. He is the Adi Purush, and he is the first life. And this concept we have to understand and we have to spread, then the society can try to look for the purpose, not that it will go on with a purposeless, materialistic concept. And also we have to understand matter also is the concept of life. We are there living, and from life comes the nail, hair, and one small seed produces gigantic tree, so much mass, biomass. So matter also comes from life. So life and matter, Krishna says in Bhagavad-Gita, that is all my energy. Bhumya Panalabayu, that sloka is there. It is my energy. So this concept has to be understood and spread. That's what we are trying to do. And we welcome all of you to join some of our programs. And you can also contribute to that. Namaste. Thank you very much.
Thank you, His Holiness Bhakti Nishkam Shanta. You have very rightly pointed out the Dharma centricity of Sanatana Dharma, Hindu Dharma. And Dharma stands for our nature, which constitutes our essence. And that essence is manifested in consciousness leading to bliss. So Sat, Chit, and Anand, very beautifully you have explained it. And you have also pointed out that it is life which begets life. Matter doesn't. In fact, matter has no amount of effort on the part of scientists has proved that matter begets life. So life is fundamental, consciousness is fundamental. This is your take, and we are grateful to you for highlighting this. Now we have two very distinguished scholars from Europe, I believe, and I hand over this to Guru Dileepji to invite them, welcome them and invite them.
Thank you, but sir, I like to introduce my close friend from Europe, long time practitioner of Hinduism and yoga. That is Acharya Sri Sukhdev Polkar Bretz, founder and director of Yoga Vidya in Germany and other parts of the Europe, and currently is advisor to the Velio community. He is going to share his personal life, how went through from Western culture to the Eastern culture, how he incorporate both of them. Please, Sukhdevji, floor is for you. Unmute yourself.
Hari Om, Om Namah Shivaya. I'm very honored to be able to be present here at this illustrious meeting at this Global Hindu Summit. Many thanks to Guru Dileepji for inviting me, and I'm very grateful that such an event is happening. I want to start with a short prayer. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. I think it's very important that Hindus of different denominations and traditions come together, and I also feel a need and that also Hindus of Western origins will also be accepted in the global Hindu community. Last Sunday I was at a meeting of Hindu Forum Germany, to which I'm also now part of the Board of Advisors, which is also part of the Hindu Forum of Europe. And so I'm very grateful that this is happening now. I'm founder of Yoga Vidya Germany. We have 4 ashrams, 100 yoga centers. We have nearly 30,000 trained yoga teachers. Via internet and social media, we reach more than 1 million people every day. I came into contact with Hinduism in 1979 when I was 16. I was born in a Protestant Christian family, went to church, but somehow I never felt really at home. And then I read books of Swami Vivekananda, of Swami Shivananda, which were at the school library. And there I found these books, and I was highly inspired by them. I thought, well, these thoughts, they really touched me very deeply. And then in 1980, I went to Munich for university studies, and I went to some yoga school, and they started by chanting for half an hour Om Namah Shivaya, and I felt so at home. And the next week, continuously, this mantra was repeating itself in me from morning till night. Then later, I went to the Shivananda Yoga Vedanta Center in Munich. I went to a satsang, and I still remember when for the first time, I saw the Hindu gods on an altar. I smelled incense, and then there was mantra chanting, and I said, well, finally, I really arrived at home. So I'm quite convinced in a previous life I was Hindu in India, and it all felt so familiar. All my youth, I felt I'm in the wrong planet. Somehow I'm not right, and here I felt I'm home. I developed then love for kirtan, for puja, for Sanskrit. I learned to read Devanagari. I learned to perform puja and homa myself. I studied Bhagavad-Gita and Upanishads, works of Shankaracharya, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and of course also Hatha Yoga. For a few years, I was a disciple of Swami Vishnudevananda, a disciple of Swami Shivananda. And then in 1992, I was for a few months in India, and I was also in the Shivananda Ashram Rishikesh. And then I had a strong vision of Swami Shivananda. He led me into other planes of consciousness, and I felt that it would be a mission of mine to spread yoga together with spiritual roots, Sanatana Dharma, together with science, and together also with Hatha Yoga and health principles, and also together with the democratic values which are so important also in the West. So that led to the foundation of Yoga Vidya in 1992, and what I always feel guided by my master Swami Shivananda, and I also feel the presence of Shiva, of Krishna, Vishnu, and so that's very important here. Now we have different ashrams. As I said, our biggest ashram is in Bad Meinberg. For India, that would be quite small. For West, it's not so small. We have 300 permanent inmates in the ashram. In pre-corona times, we had up to 1,000 guests, and we could have festivals with kirtan and so on of a few thousand participants. We're based on the scriptures to a certain degree. We call Yoga Vidya the knowledge of yoga. We're like a small yoga university and Sanatana Dharma university. We study Bhagavad-Gita, Upanishads, the works of Shankaracharya, Yoga Sutra, Bhakti Sutra, Vedanta Sutra, Yoga Vasishta, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and other scriptures. We have Sanskrit courses where one learns Devanagari, Sanskrit grammar, and so on. We have a very big yoga wiki where we have knowledge about asanas and pranayama and health, but we also have put all the scriptures in there. We have a Sanskrit course in 200 lessons, which is in the wiki. We have a Sanskrit dictionary in there. So we try to live and teach the Sanatana Dharma in all its aspects, including, of course, then the Hatha Yoga part. In our ashram, we have a sattvic life, meaning no meat, no fish, no drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. We have a daily routine. Every morning, at 5 o'clock, we have homa. At 5 o'clock, we also have parallel long satsang. We have pujas, 3 pujas every day. We have everyday Bhagavad-Gita recitation, other recitations. We have several satsangs in morning, the evening, and late evening. So we try to live it in all the different aspects. We keep contact to India. So especially to Shivananda Ashram Rishikesh, where Swamis come or used to come in pre-corona times to see us. Well, some contact to Guruji, who especially now via Zoom, that's much easier than previously. We invite swamis and priests from other organizations. We have a charitable organization which also contributes to Indian charitable organizations. So that's what we practice here. We also face some challenges. Like in Germany, Hinduism is not that strong, and Western Hindus is a little strange for the official government authorities. So we face also some religion, some issues in the courts and with the financial authorities and so on. And bit by bit we can work it out. And the second challenge we also have here in Germany, the reputation of Hinduism isn't too good. It's usually they say women's rights are not honored, and caste separation and so on. And so we have to do some work to explain how it really is. And of course, in any country, there are things which are not good, but most likely Hinduism has the least problems regarding violence to other people and suppression of others. On the contrary, Hinduism has that inclusiveness, has nothing against Christianity or any other religion, so you can always incorporate everything, and that's a wonderful thing. I'm invited sometimes to an ecumenic ecumenic initiatives by Christians, and they invite Muslims and Hindus and so on. And usually I'm invited for the Hindu part, which sometimes I feel a little bit uncomfortable. And luckily now we have the Hindu forum, where then also Hindus of Indian origin are also there, so we can come together.
So we will have a council for Hindus, not only Indian origin or non-Indian.
Yes, that's important.
This is very commendable, the way you keep this practice more than 3 decades. That's I am observing, closer to 4 decades. And you chose this as your life path. And you are guiding thousands around the globe. It's more than any Indian doing. I had to comment that part here. The sacrifice, you take it, a challenge, a courage. Very much we appreciate you are supporting our culture. That's why I called you yesterday, because our people should listen this one. This is a real life. It's a practical life in implementation. I'm so happy and grateful to you, my brother Sukhdevji, joining with us. I know you had to teach a class. Still you made time to spend with us. I appreciate. Thank you.
He's our cultural ambassador, and we are grateful to him for all that he's doing. Of course, he rightly pointed out that there are some distortions, there are some mutilations in Hindu practices that need to be reformed. And I think you should also take initiative in reforming Hinduism. You can take a lead also. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I want to apologize to Swami Bhakti Vijnana Muniji. I know he's waiting to speak. I want to finish one more person from Italy. He has to teach a class. That is Acharya Sri Shubhaji Satyaranjan Polji, my long-time friend. And he's a founder of Holistic School and Ashram in Italy and London. And he's currently an advisor to the value of community too. Satyaranjan ji, floor is for it.
It's, first of all, my great regards. I really feel honored to be a part of this great event. Heartfelt congratulations to Guru Dileepji for his tireless effort to bring this noble program into a success. My heartfelt greetings to all extinguished guests of this panel and all Hindu lovers throughout the world. deep sastang pranam to my beloved Gurudev Sri Sri Ananda Murti Ji. I am fortunate. I'm fortunate to be born in Hindu tradition and brought up in Ananda Marga way of life, which is a balanced blending of ancient Tantra and Veda. We must cultivate courage to remember our birth is not at all accidental. There's a reason behind everything that happens. It is the duty of all individuals to explore and realize the objective of life during our lifetime. And to my knowledge, since the ancient time, our rishis and sages had engaged themselves in deep research to find the best way to free oneself from the worldly bondages. As because they learned manah eva manushvanang karanang bandha mokshayo. It's our mind that is responsible for the bondages or liberations. I normally talk about spiritual practices and not any religion or religious activities. Being a yoga and meditation teacher, it comes spontaneously to remind everyone, starting from myself, that our life is a journey from imperfection to perfection. It's needless to discuss more about Vedic wisdom as it is described by many, many learned scholars of this world. I prefer to talk about what I am engaged in since 1980, when I was 18. My European experience started from 1984. After that, I traveled quite a lot. In 1919, I started Holistic Ananda Ashram School in Italy. Hundreds of seekers learned the science of yoga practices and Ayurvedic way of life to enhance their physico-psycho-spiritual existence. That which inspires me to continue my task given by my Gurudev Sri Sri Ananda Murti Ji is to teach Atma Mokshartam Jagat Hitayacha, self-realization and service to humanity, to everyone, including myself, every single day. It's action that makes a person great. We must attain that state by doing our sadhana, service, and sacrifice regularly. Each one of us longs to achieve happiness in life. Once we come to know that limited world can give us only limited happiness, and it is always accompanied by dukkha, that is sorrow and pain. Nalpe sukham asti, bhumoiva sukham, sukham anantam anandam. There are so many explanations available on this topic. It is better that we point out that which can give unlimited happiness is real sukha or ananda, that is beatitude. Anandam Brahma Ittahu. It is Ananda that is Brahma too. Our search for limitlessness has brought us to where we are today. Samyoga Yoga Ittukta Jivatma Paramatmana. Let's sincerely engage ourselves to unite with that Supreme Consciousness, Paramapurusha, through regular practices of Yogasana, Pranayama, Dhyana, and other spiritual practices. It is said, Uttamo Brahma Sadbhava Madhyamo Dhyana Dharana, Japa Stuti Sada Dhamma Murti Puja Dhamma Dhamma. The best practice is to create a sweet, innate relation with Brahma, the Supreme Consciousness, by cultivating devotion, which is also explained by learned friends from different parts already. Dhyana, Dharana, the meditation, are the practices of Madhyama, that is middle standard. Japa, Stuti are the practices of Adhama, lower standard. And the Murti Puja, idol worships, are the practices of Adhamadhama, lowest standard, lowest of standard. Every type of practices are recognized in spirituality. Nothing is to be neglected or devalued. All are useful, but not to all. According to one's ability, one should practice. It is known to us by Chitram Prakita Dharma Samanang Bhavishyati. Diversity is the law of nature, and it's the beauty of divine creation too. Our honest endeavor should always be inclusive. The spirit of Bhuvanatrayam, Lord Sadashiva is our father, Mata Gauri is our mother, and whole universe is our homeland. By the way, I normally teach to my students is to learn according to one's own capacity to go beyond all dogma and conditioning imposed by outer world. The only one can be free. Then only one can be free to love and be loved. It is love all there is. Baba Nam Kevalam is the mantra that inspires me to carry on, and I wish everyone be engaged in search for happiness within. To conclude, I express my sincere gratitude towards everyone directly or indirectly contributed their energy to this great endeavor. Namaskar.
Thank you, Ji, sharing your vision, your wisdom. Even though we had a busy day, at least we made a history. That is because of the support from our friends, including our Professor S.R. Bhaji and Pillaji from Kerala, and all other speakers and Ashrams partners. This was a dream to have an event, globalized event. Even though we cannot gather together in near future, we'll make it gathering together in different countries, and we'll ask everybody's support to promote Hinduism as a divine way of practice rather than dogmatic way. So, and I know a lot of visionaries are in this meeting. They all are going to be part of it, that they are going to promote it, and they are going to learn it, or whatever they don't know, whatever they know, they'll teach it. This is the way we move forward. We have a great guidance from Professor S.R. Bhaji. We always talk and give you always inspiration. These are the people we need. So thank you for joining. I know it's a late evening there.
Thank you very much for your very erudite presentation, and particularly referring to Sri Anandamurti ji. These days now in India, we are studying his philosophy, and we are having some conferences also on the seminal contribution of Anandamurti ji, because he has been encyclopedic person, multilinguist, and he mastered many disciplines, whether it is philosophy or linguistics or sociology or economics and so forth. So, he was a versatile genius, and you are following his precepts, so we are grateful to you for this. Thank you very much. Now, we may now invite Dr. Vigyan Muniji, His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Muniji, if he is around, I believe. He was here.
He is waiting long time.
Waiting long time, yeah.
He's here.
Yeah, he is there, very much there. So we welcome Bhakti Vigyan Muniji. Is also a scientist and a technocrat and PhD from IIT Kharagpur, a very prestigious institution of technology, and he has devoted himself now to this Krishna consciousness movement, ISKCON, and he is also like Bhakti Dishkam Muniji, providing a scientific foundation to Indian culture. And he also believes that it is the life which begets life, it is consciousness which is the ultimate reality, or everything is manifestation of that consciousness. Matter also is a manifestation of that consciousness only. So we now request His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Muniji to make his erudite presentation.
Thank you, Dr. S.R. Bhatt. And I also thank all the other important dignitaries who are assembled in very important deliberations about what is the Hindu contribution to the, what can be the Hindu contribution to science and technology for cosmic well-being. So well-being means something to do with like auspiciousness, goodness, sustainability. So then, what are the basic principles that we can, think about? That guidance has been given in the scriptures. Now, if we see some of the advancements in ancient Hindu civilizations in relation to practical applications like science and technology, of course, we find so many things like there is mathematics, concept of zero, algebra, algorithms, square root. Then we had astronomy, where we have the Aryabhatiya, and a big portion of Rig Veda deals with astronomy. And Bhagavatam has one full canto is given to the universal cosmic, like what is time and how to measure time, and what are the planets and how the different, like the river Ganga is flowing, and so many things are there. Similarly, in physics, we find the concept of atom has been discussed in the Vaisesika philosophy by Kanad. And modern concept of atom is coming very close to this, or at least in some sense closer to this idea of the Vedic conception, because in Vedic conception we have the Trikuti Vinyas. That means when we talk about object, then we don't talk about object in itself. We talk about the subject which is developing the consciousness or knowledge of the object. So there is knower, knowing, and the known. So in modern physics also, like some of the big scientists have concluded that we don't have actually, we don't deal with actually objects, but what we deal with is the knowledge about the objects. So if our knowledge changes, then we can see the object a little different. So for example, why sometimes we see something as a particle, something as a wave, is already, it depends upon the kind of design of experiments in quantum theory. So it indicates subject has a contribution to the constitution of the object. So in that sense, science has come closer to our Vedic understanding. And so therefore, there are a lot of beautiful ideas in Vedas, which when properly understood can illuminate existing knowledge world. So similarly, chemistry, practical experiments and practical applications like distillations, aromatic liquids, dyes, pigments, sugar extraction, all this was known. And we had medical science, surgery, fine arts, music, meter. Then there was mechanical technology, production technology. Ancient Greeks have testified that we had metal technology in ancient days, in those days, like 4th or 5th century BC. And there is also civil engineering, architecture. So all kinds of wonderful technological advances were well known in the Indian ancient culture. So, but we choose to summarize all of that. So what are the basic divisions of knowledge in the Vedic system? So there are, according to the divisions of the Puranas, some Puranas are called Mahapurana, some are called Upapuranas. Mahapuranas contain 10 topics and the Upapurana contains 5 topics. So what are these 10 topics? The first is the creation of the, whatever we see, the existential creation, the Sarga. And the next category is Visarga or dissolution. sthanam, how the different living entities are positioned in different planetary systems. So like modern science is very much interested whether there's life in other planets, but we have a lot of indications in our scriptures that there exists life everywhere. Similarly, Poshanam, how the saintly or the devotees of the Lord, how they are getting protection from the Lord. Then Uti means inclination to act. The Manvantra means the reign of Manu or the movement of time. Ishanu Katha means topics of the Lord's various incarnations and devotees. And Nirodha means annihilation. Mukti means moksha, liberation. And of that, Ashraya means supreme shelter, that is Lord Krishna. So these are the 10 categories of knowledge contained in our Vedic system. Now, the entire Vedic knowledge is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra. Especially the first 4 verses contain the complete summary. So those 4 verses, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, 2 Tattu Samanvayat, actually tell that now we are trying to inquire or focusing our inquiring spirit towards the world, to the objects of the world. But if we can turn that focus towards the self, or that means to ask questions, who am I? Who is the subject who is coming in contact with this world of objects? So when the subject becomes the object of its own knowledge or education, at that time the spiritual life begins. As long as we are not interested in the self, but only interested in the external, then that is material approach. But when that is converted to self-inquiry, then already the spiritual inquiry has begun. In Western traditions, they say that the higher truth is reason. Beyond this, that means the material creations. Above that comes higher categories like understanding, and finally comes reason. And like Socrates concluded, the highest form is the form of good. And but Hegel said that God is good. That means what we meant by ultimate good is actually God, or the absolute truth. So in Vedic conception, we can understand that God gives, or absolute truth gives us auspiciousness. So because we are not aligned with his interest, but we are merely interested in the provincial interest or local interests, then we are suffering. But if we can surrender, and if we can align ourselves with the universal or the primal, or the absolute interest, then there is a harmony. There cannot be harmony when we are just in the provincial realm. So from that we can understand how everything is originating. What is true spirit? Spirit means that which is free, which is independent, which is in itself. But everything else is dependent. But that which is for itself, in and for itself, that is the definition of absolute. And then how do we come to know of all this? From the revealed knowledge or the scriptures. And that approach will lead to the higher harmony. So in this way, we can get the true knowledge. Whereas in modern science, we have been limited by our approach, which is mostly mechanical reductionistic approach. And because of that, we are trying to understand the higher truths in terms of mechanical logic, but we have failed. So that is a tendency, because we are trying to find principles of matter from which we can conclude about life. But the Vedic conception is opposite, that we are trying to understand life from matter, but we have to understand matter from life. That that which is complete, that can be the source of so many other completes. And it is impossible to join the parts like a marble or like some particles and form a living organism. So that concept, like for example, one of the philosophers in the West, German, Schelling, told that when intelligence attenuates, it becomes matter. So what we call as matter means the intelligence has almost like gone, like is missing. That means it's like become damped. But in life we find intelligence, and everything comes from the higher reason. So the higher world has to be seen in that way, from the angle of reason, intellect, consciousness, spirit. So that has been the Vedic idea. And some of the great Western philosophers have also understood that. And many times it is found that some of these Western philosophers actually became great after they came in contact with some Indian sages. They become famous in their own life because they exhibited that type of life in their, wherever they preached or wherever they taught those systems of philosophies. But they have, many of them have some connection with some India or Indian sages. So even Alexander has that connection. So therefore, it is very important to understand what life is. And for that, we have to know its process, or its like from where it comes and how it sustains and how it dwindles in this world. So therefore, the idea of life is organic whole. Organic whole means the whole comes through already pre-existing whole. So that means the higher truth is much more complex, and it cannot be made simple into linear conceptions. And the Vedic conceptions are full of such higher ideas. And that's why modern people sometimes make meager attempts and they can't understand. But if some of those who really understood, some great scientists, they are beginning to conclude about a holistic view. So, and similarly, the idea of universe is also like that of the organic whole. Like sometimes the universe is compared to a banyan tree. Sometimes it is compared to a seed or a universal egg. So these are all holistic ideas. So from that perspective, what we are being taught in modern science are actually incomplete knowledge or partial knowledge. And because of that, logically also we can say incorrect sometimes from that higher perspective. But from lower perspective, we are getting some idea, no doubt. But to make further progress, then we have to look where we are making mistakes in our approach. That brings us to very important topic of the systems of epistemology. How to know things the way they are. And ontology means how things are. That will be revealed according to what kind of knowledge systems we are taking to approach that truth. So in Vedic, there are 5 types of knowledge, epistemologies, 5 categories of epistemology. And in modern science, only 2 of them cover the whole of modern science. So the first 2 are the pratyaksha and paroksha. Pratyaksha means the sense knowledge, and the paroksha means indirect sense knowledge. That means through the experience of others, we can say something. But there is also aparoksha. That means the knowledge which comes from the self, like the meditators, the great sages, and some of those meditated from the self. They also get some knowledge which is not coming from senses, either direct or indirect. So we have to accept that the self also has some knowing capacity apart from the help of the senses, or yeah. So that is aparoksha vidya, and beyond that is adhokshaja. And there is a realm of knowledge which is above even that of self. So it is something like not within the capacity of ordinary people to think about, but sometimes it makes a descent into the knowledge purview of the living beings, and they can catch a glimpse of that higher truth. So therefore, since it's adha or above, akshaja means the knowledge capacity of the self, it is called adhokshaja. And aprakrita means, just like we have prakrita, means material life here, we have relations, friends, but aprakrita means there is transcendental life also, where there are pastimes of Supreme Lord. And so in this way, life has been described, and their epistemology has been described in these 5 levels. So modern science is very behind. It is only based upon, so because lacking the purpose of this higher type of idea, often people are very much interested only in family life, or interested in like immediate necessities. But when they get some time to think about the higher truths, then some of them can get a glimpse of these higher possibilities also. So finally, what is that? We have to understand that the Vedic knowledge tells that a human or a living being can live in three planes of like interests. One is the plane of exploitation, where we try to exploit things for our interest, but exploitation leads to suffering, to death, because we are not meant to exploit. And sometimes people renunciate because when they get tired of this exploitation, then they want to like leave everything. But leaving everything is also not the solution. It's because as soon as if you leave everything, like in Gita, Krishna is telling to Arjuna, you are trying to leave this war, but by nature you are Kshatriya. So by your very nature you will be inclined to this type of activities. So better do that activity under my guidance, because I am your well-wisher and I am the supreme truth. So therefore comes the idea of dedication. So the Vedic systems don't advocate either exploitation or renunciations, like in the sense of what to say, mere exploitation or mere renunciation, but it suggests us to become dedicated. So that dedication can come when we have some connection with the truth, with the absolute truth. When absolute truth can capture our, or when we allow the truth to capture our inner self, then automatically dedication can come. So like sometimes it is said, Krishna is all charm, all attractive. So when somebody becomes attracted to that absolute truth, then those things comes very easily. Sometimes we can think how those great persons like the great sages or saints sometimes tell these things so easily. Like you can see the life of Socrates, how easily he was telling all those things. And sometimes people think these are high philosophies or high type of thing that they are doing. But for them, it is like very simple thing, and they are explaining that thing like in a very simple way. And by their life example, they have set as example for the whole of like humanity. Like how many years now Socrates has lived? For more than maybe 2000 years. So, but still people talk about him because of his great contribution, because he came at the time of democracy, but from democracy, he talked about the higher morality principles, he talked about wisdom, virtue, and he brought us to the idea of the form of good as the ultimate truth. So democracy means we're trying to become free in our actions, but that democracy is not very good unless it is like a realized kind of freedom. That means that's why it says that freedom, that is realization sets you free. When you are in truth sets you free. Not that you can just from provincial stage we can become free. It is impossible. But that realization is necessary. That higher wisdom is necessary. So now we are suffering in this world today because of our exploitative nature. Maybe we
can conclude now. Huh?
Yes, sir. So that's why I conclude here that our Vedic systems are therefore taking us to the plane of dedication. Thank you so much.
Thank you, His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Muniji. You have rightly pointed out that in our scientific enterprise, we don't know the object as such. Well, we are only dealing with our knowledge of the object. And
yes,
the object remains beyond our grasp, and therefore it is a subject-oriented object that is what is the scientists are doing. And now you have rightly pointed out that the present-day scientists are coming nearer to the ancient Vedic wisdom, and they are pointing out that it is the consciousness which is the ultimate reality. And in the West, there are only empirical modes of knowing, but well, we have empirical as well as trans-empirical. And for us, it is a trans-empirical which gives us the real knowledge of reality. It is intuitive realization of the real nature of reality. We call it as aparokshanubhuti, or turiyatita anubhava. So you have referred to that, and this concept of organic holism, It's a very significant concept which is floated in Indian tradition, and it is something which alone can redeem the present day humanity from all the calamities and sufferings, etc. Well, you have rightly concluded that we sometimes we are exploitative, but that is harmful. So sometimes we are renunciative, giving up. That also is not a desirable way. What is needed is say dedication. This is Nishkam Karma of the Bhagavad-Gita, and it is this attitude which alone can bring about peace and prosperity and happiness in the cosmos. So we are grateful to you for highlighting these merits of Sanatana Dharma, which are worthy of you can say following by the entire humankind. Thank you very much. Over to now, Guruji, please.
Thank you, Swamiji. That was a beautiful presentation. And now I like to introduce one of our long-time interfaith minister and the yoga practitioner and teacher, and she was a school teacher, as a Reverend Dr. Kathleen T. Regan. Her spiritual name is Saraswati Mataji, and she is the Dean and the Trustee of the All Faith Seminary International and the Trustee of the New Light Temple. And currently she is the advisor and NGO representative of the World Yoga Community to the United Nations. Reverend Dr. Kathleen, floor is for you.
Om Tat Sat. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Guruji, for that invitation to this wonderful summit today. It is an honor to be here for the Global Hindu Summit. I am not Hindu, although I practice Hinduism. I was asked to talk a little bit about my journey, what brings a Western person here to this place today. I'm a second-generation European. My family is from Italy, Germany, and Ireland. And I have an Irish name, although I'm mostly Italian. And it's very interesting how yoga came to the West. Most of you know that in the, of course, Swami Vivekananda came here in 1893 for the Parliament of World Religions, but there were other yogis that came between 1893 and when the Beatles came here in 1964 or 5 and then went to India, and there was this big explosion and interest in yoga and the East. And during that time in the late 60s, early 70s, as a high school student, I became interested in yoga. And it was a whole new world for me. But I was introduced to yoga through the asanas, which most of the Westerners do they travel that route. It's not the philosophy at first, but it's the physical part. It's the part, and that looking back, it was the only part I think that we could understand as a Westerner. So I began to practice the asanas, and I was told at that time, if you practice yoga, you are not allowed to eat meat. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I thought about why, and I thought, well, this must have something to do with digestion, because I didn't know anything about the philosophy of yoga. So I gave up meat, and I never looked back. And as the years moved on, I became more and more interested in the philosophy of yoga, the science of yoga. When I discovered that yoga is a science, it's not just this exercise program, it's a science. I really began to look deeper into this. So I began to study Ayurveda, and I became involved with the Shivananda Ashram, later became involved with Ananda Ashram, which is an independent ashram in New York up in the Catskill Mountains. Shivananda Ashram, as you all know, is worldwide. We're international. And Guruji has his roots in the Shivananda ashram as well. And, I just continued to study Ayurveda. I studied Vedic astrology. And in the late 90s, I discovered how to paint yantras. And this was through the Harish Johari techniques. Harish Johari was an amazing artist, musician. He was an Ayurvedic practitioner, but he taught a specific type of yantra painting. And I learned that method. Unfortunately, when I was to study with him personally, a week before that happened, he passed away at a very young age. He was in his late 60s. But yantra painting opened up another window for me as a Westerner, because this really connected things that I wasn't too clear about. It connected the real meaning, mystical meaning of mantra, and how, as an artist, I've been an artist most of my life. And then later I became an art teacher. I'm a certified New York State art teacher. I worked in high school for 20 years. And when I learned about yantra, everything sort of made sense to me. The real mystical meaning of opening up the heart to mantra, and how incredibly powerful this is, and meditation. Learning how to draw and paint yantras deepened my meditation practice, because this is all synergistically working together. You cannot draw or paint a yantra without meditation and mantra. So it was really very fascinating. And I continued my yoga practice, and in the mid 1990s became a certified yoga teacher. I studied for 15 years with the Iyengar Institute, and then decided to go to Val-Marin in Quebec, and became a certified Shivananda trained teacher. I continued to study with various teachers, and Ayurveda was also an incredible experience, because I learned again how Ayurveda is a science. It's the science of life. And, the teachers that I had, of course, again, I'm a Westerner. There are many Western doctors now that practice Ayurveda. I studied mostly with Dr. Vasant Lad, and through the Shivananda organization, Dr. Kamlesh. So I learned, Ayurvedic cooking, and some of the remedies, and the, essential oils, and using the gemstones as a means of healing. And again, this is all part of the science of life. So I owe so much of my life today to Hinduism, because all of these experiences wouldn't have happened had I not discovered, yoga and the Hindu path. And over the years of my experiences at Shivananda, I met a wonderful rabbi who has really empowered my life. His name was Rabbi Joseph Gelberman. And I listened to him at the satsang at the Shivananda Yoga Ranch up in Woodburn, New York. And there's something clicked in my head. And here I am, a yoga instructor and an art teacher, and I'm listening to a Hasidic rabbi at an ashram. And there was something about what he said about his experiences, his life, and his devotion to interfaith, the interfaith path. And he was a luminary in the field of interfaith. He was really the beginning of it in the United States. And he was originally from Hungary, lost his entire family except for two brothers in the Holocaust. He lost his wife, his parents, his little 4-year-old daughter. And he said something that really always stuck in my heart. He said, when the Holocaust happened and he was here and he was preparing to bring his wife and his little girl over to the United States at the onset of World War II. And he said, I could spend the rest of my life being angry at God, or I can transform this into something good. And he wasn't sure how he could transform it, but he felt deep in his heart he had two choices: either be angry at God for the rest of my life or transform this into something better. So he decided to transform it into something better and devoted the rest of his life to talking to people from other traditions and devoting all of his time to teaching people that we are brothers and sisters of the one. There's only one God, but there are many facets to God. And there's only one God, and God is so rich and powerful that God gave a little bit of his wisdom to all the different faith traditions all over the world. And if we want to know all of God's wisdom, we've got to talk to each other. And it made so much sense to me when I heard that. And I didn't know why I wanted to become an interfaith minister, but I knew that I wanted to study with this man because he was saying things that really resonated deep in my heart. So I became an interfaith minister, and I followed Rabbi Gelberman around and went to his events, and he never stopped being a rabbi. He always had a synagogue. He always had a congregation. He always celebrated all the Jewish holidays, but he opened up his heart, his mind, his wisdom to all the other faith traditions and began to really embrace that community. And during that time, Guruji met Rabbi Gelberman, and it's like his idea of we are all brothers and sisters. Like, it always seems to make more and more sense to me, because I would not have met Guruji if it wasn't for Rabbi Gelberman. He wouldn't have met me, and I stayed with the program. I kept following Rabbi Gelberman around, and one day he just said, we need somebody to work for us right now. Do you have any time? You want to work part-time? And I said, of course. And one thing led to the other, and I've been working at the seminary now for, I think, about 15 years. But it's really an incredible experience. And again, I owe this all to yoga, because if it wasn't for my open-mindedness at 16 years old, none of these things would have happened. And I made a decision, many, many years ago, that my life is devoted to truth. And in order to really express that truth and love, yoga is the only way. And I really feel grateful to be able to present my story from a Western point of view at a Hindu summit. So I thank you for your time. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. And Guruji, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good. You brought the point. That way people will understand that how a person get attraction to certain parts of the Hindu culture.
Yes.
Not all entire Hinduism. Yeah? So this is an educational way to share, not only talking about philosophy. That is not only the Hinduism. Hinduism is a wide range of things out there. And one main thing attracted to Western mind, that is yoga, definitely, and Ayurveda, and the music and dance, and the food, Indian food. A lot of people love it. So every month we have a gathering in New York City for a lunch or a dinner, masala dosha, vada, dosha, and even thali, you know. So we promote a healthy relationship way. You know, people come and talk and chat, and we all get along. That's a part. Rare case people may argue. Rare case. Majority of the time people are very happy. They celebrate their time. That's the way I felt it. I'm glad you are able to join today. And we have 2 more days to go. Professor Bhatsar want to say something.
See, she has very rightly pointed out that she leaves Hinduism. Hinduism is not a matter of belief, but it's a matter of practice. And you practice the basic tenets of Hinduism through yoga and also Ayurveda. And this is what Sanatana Dharma stands for. It's a way of life. And it's a way of a noble, virtuous life. And so if we lead that life, then we are a Hindu. Whether we declare ourselves as a Hindu or not. One Hindu is not born, is not say by birth, it is by virtue. It is virtues which make one a Hindu or a non-Hindu. So thank you very much for your very sharing your experiences, and we are grateful to you for this enlightening message. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Tat Sat.
Now, Professor Sebastian is not here.
Professor is not here. Our Dr. Singh is.
So Kaushlendra Singh is here. So Kaushlendra, you please say 5 to 10 minutes. You make a summary of your presentation. Thank you very much. Kaushlendra Singh is working with me in an organization called Association of Indian Philosophers International. He is one of the joint secretaries, and we had many such cultural and academic programs under this organization, and he has been handling the affairs very smoothly and efficiently. So basically he is a Buddhist scholar, and his expertise is in the field of Buddhism. Over to Kaushlendra Singh, please.
Thank you.
But sir, I want to make a comment. Out of all the speakers, the best headshot photo I got from him.
I see.
All other people came here, less resolution. His photo is the best one I got it yesterday. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Guruji. And thank you so much for inviting me. And my pronouns in holy feet of Professor Sarabhat. He's my mentor, my guru, my teacher. So I will not take too much time because I know that we are running out of time. So I'll take hardly 5 to 6 minutes and I'll summarize myself in that time. So the theme today I'm supposed to speak that science and technology for cosmic wellness. Development of science and technology in wrong direction and emerging threat to human survivability and well-being. So technology has made our life so easy and has given us so many facilities which we could never have imagined before today. Technology has improved the standard of living of the people to a great extent and has given a new dimension to the development of the country and the world. And here I want to mention something that the technology has given us so many positive things in a matter of health, medicine, improvement of industries and work. Technology has made our life task very easier, and the media and the communication has revolutionized because of our technology today, and agriculture, and no doubt about the education system. And in the last 2 years, we are facing a very dangerous threat in form of COVID-19, but technology has helped a lot in these things. But I want to draw an attention to the modern time, how technology is affecting us. For that, I want to make some summary here that no technology is harmful. It is just that when human mind is in a certain level of distraction mode, every technology is harmful, everything. The problem is not the technology, never, because they are just devices and codings created by us. We are supposed to use it for our well-being. That is the idea of, isn't it? But sees most of the cutting edge technologies always goes into the military uses in the world. Obviously, we do not know how to use it for our well-being. We are always using it to destroy something. This has been the thing always, not just because we don't know how to use it, because the lack of human consciousness. This is the biggest problem we are facing nowadays. uh, Nowadays there is the biggest challenge, according to me, in my personal opinion, that the five technological giant of the world, like Google, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, and Facebook, both these companies have collective more than $8 trillion. They have $8 trillion, and if I rank them in the world GDP number, after US, $19.5 trillion, and there's a China who has $12.25 trillion. This is the number of these companies collectively. They have $8.1 trillion, and because of these money, they are affecting the democratical society nowadays. According to United Nations, we have that 166 democratic countries around the world, but these technological giants are blackmailing those democratic nowadays. We have seen that Cambridge Analytica scandal we had a few days back, a few years back, we can say that. And these giants are blackmailing. These giants are, with the help of this money and technology, they are affecting the mood, and they are with the fake deep news and the artificial intelligence. They are affecting the democratic societies. So this is the biggest challenge we are facing with the technology things. And second thing I want to hear, the draw the attention of our scholars, that is the ecological and environmental. With the help of technologies, we can improve these things, but nowadays we are destroying our ecological things because we are able to travel so fast. It doesn't mean that we can go anywhere. Nowadays, I can say that the human is destroying our planet because of their greed, and we are planning to set up a colony in the moon and in the Mars. Suppose we are able to do so, and near future we will be able to do so, no doubt about that. But what will happen there over there after 20 or 30 years later? We'll doing the same thing that we are doing in our planet. We will start to destroy and exploit moon and Mars. Then we'll look for some other alternate, and we'll do the same thing. It's not a matter of technology, it's a matter of human consciousness. It's only the matter of human consciousness that can give you a level to not destroy the things, to evolve the things. So in the last, I know we are running out of time. In the last, that is my experience of 3.1 decade, and that I have written here. So I'm going to read 3 to 4 lines. After that, I'll conclude. The Hinduism is the future of the world. I'm saying this because today's the youth in the world have become so logical. Human intellect is evolving in such a way that anything is that illogical will not fly in the world. So you do whatever I've taken to you in the heaven is not going to work anymore. Nobody wants to go in the heaven anymore. This is the only culture which is looked at the human mechanism, which has profounded that if you present it to the world properly, this will be the future of the world, because this is the only thing that appeals and evolves the intellect. That is not belief, that is not a belief system. This is the science, and Hinduism is the science of future. Hinduism is the not past. Hinduism is not only the past. Hinduism was the past, Hinduism is the present, and Hinduism is the future, because Hinduism is not merely a religion, it is a science. That is a proven science. With this word, I want to thank the organizer, Guruji, and Professor S.R. Bhatt. Thank you so much for giving me such an opportunity to speak among so great scholars. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kauslendraji. You have rightly pointed out that science and technology are not value neutral. Well, we, the human consciousness, provides value or disvalue to science and technology, and science and technology therefore can be either a boon or a bane, and it is for us, it is for our judicious consciousness that we make the best use of it for the betterment of the humankind and for maintaining the order in the cosmos. So thank you very much for your message. Over to Guruji now.
That was a good presentation. Everything concluded in short piece. I know the human mind is so crazy. There's a limitation for our greediness. Only human being in the animal kingdom destroy everything. Even our stomach is big. We eat 5 times, still we want to eat 6 times and 7th time. If we see somebody having something, we want to grab from them. If we have something extra, we don't want to give it, we hold it. The corona taught us something. Even if you have $1 billion in your hand, still you cannot escape from trouble. At least learn from that. Still people go wrong way. So anyway, I'm so glad you brought these points. Even we live in the space, we'll destroy the space. So we already destroying space. We spend $1 trillion for the weapons, mass destructive weapons, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons. Still, we don't want to care about people for a meal. This is a wrong way of teaching around the globe now. I am proud. India is sending so many satellites even for America to space. Great, but you have to think on the street, people are suffering. Spending so much money to make a sculpture. We want to do the biggest sculpture in the world. It's not the administration. We had to remove these type of unwanted things. Never destroy the nature. You look at the buildings in New York City, you can see all filled with the granite because we want to show off. Not only New York, most of the cities. But we don't think we are destroying the mountains and creating atmosphere problems, right? Environmental problems. We pretend. When people are sleeping, easy to wake them up. And they pretend it's very hard to wake them up. So we have certain duties to do it. So when Reverend Kathleen mentioned about the Yandras, I was sitting here, then I thought, oh, maybe I'll show one of my paintings. That's a Sri Yandra, oil painting. This is 20 years old. Yeah. I never frame it. I just look it. Then
Very good painting, Swamiji, Guruji.
So I learned a little bit, but when you paint, the concentration for the lining, make you more deeper meditative way. We have an artist, the painting in the back, made by Anand Patroli. He's living in New York City over 50 years, one of our trustees. He does a lot of paintings. So I made a website for him to put all of the paintings on website so people can see from abroad. We are planning to have a global art festival in July.
Every art form, Guruji, is elevating and it is enjoyable. It is joy yielding. Therefore, and we always crave for joy.
Yep.
So, Ananda. So, art is for Ananda and not just for art's sake. So, it's good that you are also a very good artist. You have a multifaceted person.
I thank my parents for that, because my father's side, father used to play harmonium. His sister used to dance. Brother used to play tabla and mother used to sing.
I see.
Without going to school, we pick up very fast. If I see something, I'll learn very fast. All of me and my brother, sister, all will dance. We get prizes in school and college, even in the university level. Yeah, sports. I feel good. All the children should be active in different ways. Extracurricular activities is needed for a growth of a mind, a spiritual mind. I'm going to do a dance from Kerala. 2 sisters are doing the dance. Then we'll wind up. What? Okay.
Very enchanting and really
Two sisters, they're
it's
amazing.
wonderful.
So actually we had great day today. Now only we missed two other speakers because it was a little delayed, but definitely they can come tomorrow. We have enough time tomorrow. And I just got a phone call from another assemblyman. He's going to join on Friday.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's beautiful. They are supporting,
Mhm.
So let us see. But sir, you want to say something?
No, we are lucky to have this sort of support from New York diplomats and statesmen and other politicians. So we should bank upon their support and say make best use of their courtesy. Yeah.
So those who are in our list, let them speak tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let everyone, then we can have a discussion in the last part tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Friday will be our celebration.
Tomorrow also we have a galaxy of speakers. So we have Swami Shri Hari Prasad Ji, then Professor Padir Selvam, then Professor Abha Singh, then Shri Bhagyesh Jha, Professor Shakuntala Vora, Dr. Vandana Sharma.
And Professor Sebastian too, because he's every day in the meeting.
Yeah, so Sebastian also will join. Yeah. So we'll give 15 minutes to every speaker and make them speak in a very crisp and summarized form. Yeah.
So that is great. So I am so happy because everything fall in order automatically.
Yeah.
Start with a small idea. Over 800 people are watching today live. I know within few hours it will reach over 1,000.
Okay, very good. So it is quite successful and fruitful enterprise we had today. And we are grateful to all the speakers. We are grateful to the listeners also. And all is well, which goes well, ends well. And we may call it a day now. Over to Guruji to conclude, and we wind up.
So thank you, Professor S.R. Bhaji. I know this is a late time in India. Still, your spirit is keeping us live. I am glad you are supporting us, guiding us. You have the great wisdom, and I know you do really good for the community through us. And the future generation should learn and about the Hinduism in the true sense, Sattvic way. So I have big hope on that part. Thank you everyone joining. Make sure next 2 days you are there, be part of it, and bring maximum people on the Friday. That is our celebration day. Dr. H.R. Nagendra, he is a recipient of Padma Shri National Award in India in 2016, and he's the person supported us to make a dialogue with the Prime Minister Modi for the International of Yoga. We did the work, but he's the person supported us, and he's going to be one of the main speaker, and the Vice Chancellor from Nalanda University. Nalanda University is the oldest university in the world, and the Vice Chancellor will speak in the event. And I know the Assemblyman also joining. We may have a Congresswoman too. That will be tight schedule that day. I am going to make 3-hour program from 9 to 12. Either way, we end up in 12 in New York time. So 3 hours program is good. And the last part, definitely we'll open floor for everybody to make some comments, short comments in the last day. So thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bhatt.
We thank all. We thank all, and when we thank all, we thank ourselves, because we are all and all are we.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you, Professor Bhatt, sir.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay, thank you. We can now let everyone be happy in this universe. Let everyone be from all imperfections. Yeah, thank you.